Studies. Again, Social Studies, page 156. So we're starting today, Social Studies, page 156. Yeah, I had it for last week, but I had changed it.
It's blue pencil.
I think it's memorized. I don't know. Yeah, that's all right, so we'll go again. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll talk about Americans of courage. Americans.
So what page is it?
26. All right, Americans of courage. So there are many American men and women who have faced adversity and courage. Their acts of courage have saved lives and inspired others to live courageously as well. Okay, so let's talk about courageous people on the battlefield. No. So on January 1st, 1915, Sergeant Alvin York, his life changed during a revival meeting when he realized he needed Jesus to save him from his sins. Instead of living for himself, he now wanted to live for God. So when America went into World War I, he wasn't sure what to do, right? Because he was a soldier during that time fighting during that battle. And so he went in the battle, he went to fight, and he was very courageous. And because of his courage during this battle, he was awarded what is called the Medal of Honor. And so the Medal of Honor is usually a medal that is given to soldiers who have done something courageous or brave beyond what they're called to do. So it was during this battle of World War I. So what he ended up doing was in the military they have units where it's a group of them that will go on a mission together. It's called a unit. And he was able with his unit to defend and protect his unit, and they also captured 132 of the enemy soldiers. So that's why he was awarded the Medal of Honor, because of his bravery in defending and protecting his unit, but also for capturing some of the enemy soldiers. Okay? And so the Medal of Honor is the highest military honor, and the president gives that medal out as well. And so Sergeant Alvin York was one of those people who received that. Okay, 157, let's talk about Sergeant Sylvester Herrera. So he was living in America during World War II. So Sergeant Alvin York was there during World War I. Sergeant Sylvester is there during World War II. So he was studying to become an American citizen, and he fought in the battle. He even got injured in the battle, but he still continued to fight in his unit to protect his unit. Okay, after returning to America, he was awarded the Medal of Honor as well, but also what's called a Purple Heart. A Purple Heart is a medal awarded to soldiers who have sacrificed themselves in battle, either with their lives or with a serious injury. In his case, in this case, he was injured, but he still continued to fight and protect his unit, and that's why he was awarded not only the Medal of Honor, but also a Purple Heart as well. And this is also given by the President of the United States as well. Okay, let's go to 158. Let's talk about the 101st Airborne. Okay, so the 101st Airborne is a division of the United States Army that began during World War II. Their first mission was to parachute into France to free it from an enemy. So France had been captured and was being held captive by a different country. And the 101st Airborne, they didn't want to fly into the city because that would have been too obvious, right? And they could have risked getting their planes shot down. So what they did is they decided to use parachutes to fly into the country. They parachuted themselves into France, and they went in the country and were able to liberate, which means to free France from the enemy soldiers that had them captive. Okay, and so it was not only America, but it was also French and Canadian soldiers as well, and English, British soldiers that fought along the Americans during this as well. Okay. All right, let's look at 159. Let's talk about as World War II is going on, there was a new language that was developed. It was called the Navajo Indian language, and it's a written language. And so they ended up, one of the military units, one of the military units was able to prepare a secret code using the Navajo language. They were able to use the secret code to communicate with each other during the war because they didn't want their messages to be revealed to the other soldiers, their enemy soldiers. So they used the secret code, the secret language, the Navajo language, to communicate with one another. So they were called the Navajo Code Talkers, and it was a bunch of Native American soldiers that used their language to communicate, right, with one another, so that the enemy wouldn't find out what they were communicating, like what plans they had and things like that. Okay. All right, let's go to 161. Let's talk about those who had courage in space discovery. Yeah.
Basically, just gotta go use the bathroom.
Sure. Give me a second. Okay, so we have courage in space discovery. So in 1961, American astronauts Neil Armstrong, Edwin Buzz Aldrin, they landed on the moon during the Apollo 11 mission. And so what made this super unique is that they were declared the first people to travel in outer space and to land on the moon. And so these two men were courageous for being able to travel out of, out into outer space. Okay. All right, so that's what the Apollo 11 mission, which was to land on the moon. This was in 1961. All right, let's go to 162. Let's talk about courageous people on the mission field, which missions are like people who go on missionary trips where they go to different countries to spread the gospel. And these people here, John and Betty Stamm, were missionaries in China during the Chinese Civil War. They gave their lives on the mission field, and on December 7th, they had a daughter she was safe and she was taken in by Chinese Americans. So they actually lost their lives being missionaries, because in a lot of countries, they don't accept like Christianity, preaching Jesus, and you could lose your life doing that. And they lost their lives and they're in China preaching the gospel. So now we have Jim and Elizabeth Elliot. They were missionaries in South America, and they had learned of a tribe there which never heard about God. So them and some four of their friends gave their lives, went to this tribe, and preached and preached and preached the gospel to them, and they received Jesus as their Lord and Savior. Okay. Right. Yep. All right. So that's really it, guys. The rest of our book, we're not testing on, so we're not going to worry about that. But this is our last lesson this week on Americans who show different ways of courage in battle, in space discovery, and also in missionary field. Okay. All right, so that's it for social studies. That's what we'll be testing on. Our test on Friday will be our last social studies test, and this is what we're testing on. All right, let's go ahead and go into your science. All right, page 164, we'll talk about storms. 164, we'll talk about storms. All right, this week in science, we are going to discuss storms. This will also be our last lesson in our science. We'll talk about storms. And yeah, that'll be it. I'm trying to get to that. Oh well. All right, so storms. All right, I'm gonna let you guys read. Dennis, you want to start us off with hurricanes? So sometimes the wind is not friendly at all. And so we know what makes the wind, we know what makes the air move is when hot air meets with cold air. When those two combine, that's when storms are formed. So let's talk about all the different kinds of storms. Dennis, you can start us off on 164 with hurricanes. Just make sure you unmute. All right.
Hurricanes or windstorms that begin over the ocean. Hurricanes bring heavy rain and strong winds. Hurricanes can be dangerous and cause much damage if they make landfall. Landfall is when a hurricane reaches land. If you were to look at a hurricane from space, would you see a swirling storm? And then you would see a swirling storm. In the middle of the hurricane is a calm area. We call this the eye of the hurricane.
It's L-E, L-E. Okay, so this is a hurricane. A hurricane is a windstorm that will form in the ocean, and usually what it does is, as it's spinning, it pushes out of the ocean and it eventually lands. And so hurricanes will bring heavy rain, strong winds. They can be very dangerous, especially when they make landfall. They can cause a lot of damage to buildings and trees fall, just different things like that happen. So here in Louisiana, we get hurricanes. We have an actual hurricane season that actually starts May 31st. And so during hurricane season, it's just hurricanes can form at any time. We don't get a hurricane every year, but they do happen. And so usually you'll find a lot of the islands that'll get hurricanes, Florida, Texas, Louisiana, the coast, that area will usually get hurricanes. Like I said, it's not every year, but they start to watch the Gulf, the ocean, the Atlantic, to watch for different hurricanes. So if you were to look at a hurricane, you would see it's like as a swirling storm. And in the middle, as you can see, that's called the eye. That's like the calmest part. But when the eye passes, that part that comes behind the eye is usually the strongest part of the storm. So that's a hurricane. All right, let's look at 165. Avaya, can you read about tornadoes?
Yes.
What word?
Tornadoes are windstorms that begin over hot land. A tornado is a funnel of springing air. Tornadoes are especially dangerous if the funnel cloud touches the ground. When this happens, we say the tornado has touched ground.
Okay, good. So now we have tornadoes. So a tornado is also a windstorm as well. It's a funnel of spinning air. So tornadoes are especially dangerous if that funnel touches the ground. So tornadoes start in the sky and usually they spin and they funnel all the way down. And when they touch the ground, they just go. And so tornadoes are very dangerous because though you can be aware of it and watch it, you never know the path that a tornado is going to go on. Hurricanes, you usually can follow a path with a hurricane, like you'll know if it'll turn this way, that way, where it'll go. But with tornadoes, they can start at any moment and they can go wherever. And so when that happens, you usually say a tornado touches down. So we have had tornadoes here, but there are certain states that are prone to having tornadoes all the time. So they have to build tornado shelters, storm shelters, where when a tornado hits their town, they have to hide in there because when the tornado comes, it kind of wrecks everything. And so I'll show you some footage of that maybe Wednesday on Zoom. No. Okay. And so let's go to thunderstorms. Okay, Kinley, thunderstorms. Right. Right. Okay, next one. Marie.
Thunderstorms.
Yeah, that's it. Thunderstorms are very common. They bring
All right.
heavy,
We are reading right now.
heavy rain and lightning. Lightning happens when there is lightning happens when there is too much static. In the cloud,
Okay, word.
from
Boil,
a
next one.
cloud can be seen in the sky, but sometimes it touches when lightning touches the ground. When lightning touches the ground, it can be dangerous.
Candy, okay, why, but that's fine, whatever. Okay, Kendall. Just one. Okay, so that's thunderstorms. So thunderstorms are very common. I'm sure everyone has heard of a thunderstorm before. We get them often, especially in the spring season. You get them pretty often. And so they will usually bring heavy rain, lightning, thunder, all of that is at once. Lightning happens when there's too much static electricity in the sky and it will have lightning. And we know that lightning can be extremely dangerous, right? And so when lightning from a thundercloud can be seen, and that's what it's showing on 165. Okay. All right, let's go to 166. Let's talk about blizzards. Wait, hold on. Okay. What's the word?
Is a blowing snowstorm. It can fly just anywhere. Making it difficult to see. Some people have become lost in blizzards.
Okay. So a blizzard is similar to a thunderstorm, but instead it's a snowstorm. A blizzard is when with snow. So snowstorm is called a blizzard. And so the snow is coming down, it'll pile up really fast. It makes it difficult to see. You can't drive because there's so much snow. It can be pretty dangerous. Instead of rain, it's snow. So that's a blizzard. All right, let's talk about other kinds of severe weather, floods and droughts. What's the word? Swamp, okay. So you ready for this one? Can you tell me sound? Or sound?
Oh, flood has a bad good.
W or W?
No.
Okay, what's the word?
A flood
Flood, flood.
happened
Ready?
there.
Vowel, okay.
Flood happened there. Is too much water sometimes. It flood. Heavy. When so much.
Am I not sitting right? Get out.
And other body.
Okay, flood. Next one, Michael.
No, oh, no.
You're gonna have to go.
Joe is when there isn't. That's mine. That's my part too.
No, she's drought.
That is when they die. Is it
Night. Okay, next one.
underwater drops and animals suffer without any food or and water? Why? Alright.
All right, good. So flood. I'm sure we've heard of flood. A flood, of course, happens when there's too much water at one time. And when the water is not draining fast enough, obviously the water is going to pile up and pile up and pile up. And that's how a flood happens. And floods can be dangerous. It can damage cars. The water can get in your house, different things like that. Then a drought. A drought is when there's not enough water. That means it's not raining. Things dry up, crops suffer, animals suffer, and we need rain. Okay?
Why do we need
Yep.
rain?
Huh?
Why do we need rain?
Because the water helps things not to dry up. So like the plants need water. So let's talk about predicting weather. So I'm sure if you watched the news before, you probably saw the meteorologist, who's the person who does the news section. Y'all watch the news or no?
Yes.
And so, well, y'all need to watch the news. So that's gonna be your assignment this week. For those who don't, the news comes on at 5, it comes on at 6, and it comes on at like 9 or 10. So check your TVs and stuff. Your parents can also, but watch the news and watch the weather section when he talks about the weather. Okay, so that's what I want you to watch, so you can just hear and see how he predicts the weather. Yes. Okay. So anyway, so meteorologists, their job is to predict the weather. Now they're not always accurate because things change. I'm sure one time you may have heard them say, "Oh, it's gonna rain today," right? And it doesn't, right? Or they say it won't rain and it does. So they're not always right, but there's ways they can predict or guess the weather. Go ahead. What's your word? Cheese. All right, next one. Yeah.
Scientists who study weather are called meteorologists because storms and weather can be dangerous. Scientists have found a way to study and predict weather by weather data. They make weather predictions called forecasts. Meteorologists collect weather data in many ways. They use radar to see snow and rain. The picture,
All right, good. All right, let's
this
talk about
picture
word foot.
show how meteorologists see weather on
Foot, talk about word foot, what?
satellites and space help meteorologists make forecasts as well. Weather balloons and special airplanes collect the weather data from the sky.
Okay. Okay, so scientists who study weather, like I just said, are called meteorologists. And so because storms and severe weather can be very dangerous, they have found ways to study the weather to help people to prepare in some kind of way. So they make a weather prediction, which is called a forecast. So they can give you a 7-day forecast, a 14-day forecast, and a forecast is simply just a prediction of what the weather will be over the next few days. So for example, like, on your phone, there's like the app, right? The weather app, where it'll show you like what the weather is predicted. See that? That's because meteorologists are working to show you that. So like they have the 10-day forecast. So today they're saying it's gonna have some rain today. Tomorrow it'll be sunny, Wednesday rain, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so it also tells you temperature, all of that. That's what a forecast is. So this is good because it helps you to kind of know, oh, I need to prepare for rain. I need to wear this. I need to wear that. What? Compound word. Okay. So meteorologists also collect data in different ways. They'll use a radar, which scans, and it'll kind of show you if rain or snow is coming, right? They have satellites that are in space that help them to see the weather that's going on, because all weather does is just travel. That's all it does. So like if a storm is coming from, say, Texas and it's moving east towards us, we know that in Texas it'll be raining, then a few hours, guess where the storm will be? Here in Louisiana. So that's what they use, the radars and the satellites, to help them find the weather. And they also use weather balloons as well. Okay, 188. So what can you do during bad weather? So just some safety things. 168, safety things to do during the weather. Okay, for what?
It is important to know what to do when it's bad weather. Maybe your family has an emergency plan in case of severe weather. Each home has a different place that is the best place to find shelter during what are a good reminder to help those who damage trade for those in need. Maybe there is even a way your family can help. Sometimes storms can be scary, although scientists predict much weather. They cannot control weather, only God can control the weather. He made the storm.
Okay, football. Corn.
He is more powerful than
Corn what?
to know that the power of God loves us.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, and then corn stalk. All right, so it's important we know what to do whenever bad weather comes, because sometimes, we need to hurry and prepare and protect ourselves. So the first thing is, if it's raining and lightning and thundering, first thing you need to do is seek shelter. When it's lightning, stay away from trees. Why? Because lightning can strike trees, and if you're near the tree, guess what's going to happen to you? you'll be struck by lightning too. Also, when it's lightning, stay away from windows, and it's best to go to the center part of your house in case lightning does strike inside or in the house. You'll be safe from that as well. Okay, it's always best when it's lightning to not be out in the open. It's best to be either in the house, or if you're in the car, stay in the car. Okay, during a windstorm, it's best to go to the basement. If we don't have basements here in Louisiana, but do y'all have basements, Dennis? You have a basement or no? Y'all do? Yeah, well, you're in Texas now. I don't know if Texas has basements, but yeah. But yeah, you go in the bathroom, yeah, or a closet. During a lightning storm, like I said, don't play on electronics during a lightning storm. It's not safe because the electricity in the thing can attract the lightning. So you just have to literally just sit down and wait for the storm to pass. But after a storm happens, if trees are down or power lines are down, don't go near it because it can be dangerous. Okay. All right, guys, that's your science for this week on storms. All right, so that's it for science. All right, that's it for our Zoom today. I wanted to introduce your science social studies. Make sure you complete the rest of your assigned work on today. Okay, guys? So phonics is nothing I have to teach. You're kind of familiar with the lesson, so just complete it in your book. Oh, wait, spelling. Get out your spelling. Let's go by our list this week. We're on list 31. This is our last list. Page 62, list 31. Let's go over your last spelling list. List 31, page 62. All right, let's go, jewelry. Pick yourself with the pencil, please. Where is he spelling? Where is he spelling? Number 1, jewelry. RY. Jewelry 2. Balloon. Up 3 above. 4 camera. 5 classroom. 6 grew. 7 spoon. 8 brother. 9 umbrella. 10 new. 11 jealous. 12 cousin. 13 nothing. 14 enough. 15 with. 16 wants. 17 wait. Okay, your vocabulary 18 instant. Happening quickly. And then 19 moist. And it means slightly wet. And then 20 couple. All right, good. All right, guys. Sweet. All right, y'all have a good day. I will see you guys on tomorrow for Bible and then Wednesday for Zoom. Okay, bye-bye.